Hey, good people, Davia here, and welcome to another episode of Tales from the Shaker, Davia Williams Stevenson podcast. You guys, full disclosure, my guest today is a dear, dear friend of mine, a dear brother of mine. I call him my big brother. I love him dearly. And so, if somewhere in this conversation you might see a moment of emotion or we seem to go off script because we messing with one another, just come along for the journey because it's all real, it's all authentic. So, reading a bio of my dear friend Guy Fisher feels weird to me because I know how outstanding he is and I know about his professional achievements. But we're going to touch on some of that. But he embodies what Tales from the Shaker is about. What is an event or circumstance or something that shakes you up, that moves you to finding a new passion, a new purpose, learning a new thing, doing things a new way? He's the embodiment of that to me. So I'm going to start with the summary of his bio and then give you some particulars, and then we're going to start our conversation. Would you, my brother?
Oh, that's beautiful.
All right. All righty. So, summary. Guy Fisher's journey embodies resilience, innovation, and a deep commitment to the well-being of others. His story serves as an inspiration to all, illustrating the transformative power of determination, empathy, and the unwavering pursuit of justice. All the other stuff led up to this. His incredible professional career as what would I call you, as a technology entrepreneur.
Yep,
Yeah, that's how you describe it. Yeah, a technology entrepreneur. Guy's professional trajectory led him to Bank One. That was what brought him to Columbus, Ohio, I believe. I'm skipping around because if I spend this time reading this bio, we won't get to conversation. It's that deep. Guy's entrepreneurial spirit blossomed during the pandemic of 2020, inspiring him to co-found a cutting-edge cybersecurity company alongside of two very close friends and confidants. In his personal life, Guy's heart found its true anchor in his marriage to the remarkable Laverne Greathouse Fisher. Their union formed in 91 and stands as a testament to love's enduring power. And together, they've raised two bad young brothers, okay, Miles and Alex. Miles, now 30, is married. He's a doctor pursuing orthopedic surgeon. Mm-hmm. And Alex, also a source of pride. He's in financial services, I believe. Mark my word, he's going to be leading people. I believe that. I've always said that he's going to lead people. Guy's life took an unexpected turn when he was diagnosed with multiple myeloma and cardiac AL amyloidosis. Despite facing formidable health challenges, he's transformed adversity into opportunity for positive change. Guy embraced a mission to enhance the healthcare access and quality for Black and Brown communities, channeling his advocacy efforts toward creating a more equitable healthcare system. And he fervently believes that he can make a difference, if even in one person's life. If just one person.
Right? Correct.
Everybody has a legacy in a sphere. His work will be immeasurably worthwhile. I guarantee you, my brother, it's going to be more than one person. This family also has a foundation, the Fisher Family Foundation. Building on his commitment to creating lasting impact, Guy, along with his dedicated family, established the Fisher Family Foundation in 2023. This philanthropic endeavor aims to address systemic disparities in healthcare, education, and opportunity with a focus on empowering undeserved communities. Okay, is your appetite wet yet, people? Thanks for spending time with me, Guy.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important. I think your story is important. I think your mission's important. Most of all, I think your heart, you and Laverne, I love you all dearly and your whole family. And it is my honor to have even somewhat of a platform to launch your work.
Beautiful.
Talk about making your mess your message. That's what you're doing. So let's talk a little bit about it, so folks understand. Your shaken event, your shaker, was this diagnosis.
Correct.
And so tell us a little bit about that and your journey.
Okay, I will be happy to. And again, thank you for the invite.
Oh, for sure.
Well, my journey started in 2021, where I was experiencing problems with my legs. I thought it was restless leg syndrome. I thought it was, wasn't even sure what it was. So, like always, my main objective, my main mission in life was, number one, providing for my family. Number two, providing for myself. Number three, providing for the community. So with that being said, once I realized that I was having problems, I kept saying, oh, I'll get it checked out. I'll get it checked. I'll get it checked. And when it got to the point where my leg pain was so bad that I had to go to the doctor, I did exactly what was supposed to. I went to my primary care physician. Primary care physician did a great job. He referred me to a different couple of people, and he sent me to a neurologist. Okay, one thing that I realized is that we have to advocate for our own health. Advocating for our own health is the best way that we could take care of ourselves, because no matter how close you are to your family, your friends, and everybody, no one knows how you feel. My pain is my pain. My prayers are my prayers. As close as me and my family and my wife is, we have our own needs and wants and pains. So when I got to the point where I said, I would not be good to anyone if I don't go and get help, made me go and get help. So once I went and got help, I was being bounced around from doctor to doctor and wasn't really getting any real answers. All they want to do is prescribe medication. They never really figured out why was I hurting. All they want to do is write scripts. And I'm okay with that. I mean, we all know that the medical field is a practice. That's why they call it a practice, because they do not know for sure what the solution is, what the answer is, or they're going to keep trying. And a lot of people don't realize that it's a practice.
That's a good perspective. Like, there's a decision tree.
Yep.
Based on the knowledge you have.
Yep.
If it looks like this, maybe it's there.
Yep. That's not always the case.
Another one of those words that you know it applies, but you don't really consider it the medical practice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That gives a little different perspective, or can, on your expectations of your medical professionals, maybe.
But we forget that. And we really forget that when it's our reality. It's a practice to them, but it's our reality.
I've been there a couple times.
Yes,
I got
ma'am.
you. Yeah.
So there is the difference. And you have to, sometimes you have to understand the whole process.
That's good.
To be able to understand the healthcare or the resolution to your problems. They don't have the answers all the time. So to make a long story short, as I was having this leg pain, and they were sending me from doctor to doctor to doctor, getting all these tests, and no one was really telling me what the problem was. And I started to get upset because, again, I had this pain. No one knew why. And I felt as if, no one was taking the time out to figure out what the pain was. They would write scripts, gabapentin with all this pain medication. So I was going to a neurologist within the Ohio Health system over on Mount Carmel East. And fortunately, I had my son come with me. He was home for a break. And at this particular time, he was a resident in orthopedics because he's an MD, as you're aware of. And when we get to the appointment, the neurologist, he's a little late. We're sitting there, we're waiting. And he comes in, he starts asking some questions and kind of rushing me, looking at his watch, And I felt as if my time wasn't his time.
Yep.
To me, my time is the most important. So don't. I know you may be busy and everything, but please take your time to talk to me, to educate me. Help me understand where I'm at, and what you think the problems may be.
Lean into your mic, because I don't want anybody to miss any of this.
Okay. So what ended up happening was, as he is kind of rushing me along, my son started asking questions, and as my son was asking questions, the doctor looked over at him and asked, "Are you in the medical field?" And my son said, "Yes, I'm a second-year orthopedic surgeon resident." Oh, wow. And at that moment in time, I saw the whole direction of the appointment change. Now he's taking his time. He's asking questions. He's listening to my response. He's answering my question to the best of his ability. And I was like, wow, where was this time at the beginning of the appointment?
You can't read anybody's mind, but what do you think? Like, what was that experience that changed for you? What did that represent?
Well, I thought at that particular time he realized that, how can I say this? That this wasn't the typical appointment that he has.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many appointments that he has with a father of a African American who has a son as a doctor who's sitting in a room with him. To the point where he was asking my son, well, you think we should try this? You think we should try that? And my son had to tap out and say, doctor, I'm here to support my father. I'm not here as a second doctor. I'm just a resident. This is what you do. I'm just here to make sure that my father gets the best treatment he can.
So I wonder, was it a sense of another level of accountability to that doctor?
Yes.
Even that could have been also like people are, like once this is someone who speaks my language, I'm more comfortable, I'll lean in. We can't read his mind.
Yeah, no, not at all.
But clearly something changed.
Something changed. The dynamics of the appointment changed. Yeah. And I noticed that. And it's kind of funny because, well, my son being a new doctor, he has this different outlook. Like everything is great, like that wasn't the case, maybe it was something else. I said, no, son, it changed because he realized that you were a doctor and you understood he needed to take his time out. So where it really got interesting was he ordered all this blood tests, right? Which I thought was normal because, again, I don't know anything. And as he got all these blood tests, some of the results looked questionable, and some of the results was showing a high protein level. And the first thing that I did was I get these blood results in my MyChart and I go out on Google and I'm Googling all this stuff.
That's good and dangerous.
I know, right? I'm using the internet doctor, right? And I read some of this stuff. I say, oh, son, I'm dying. Because of the 40 blood tests, this one came back high. And my son would say, Dad, stop Googling. Stop trying to diagnose yourself. You don't realize that the other 39 that was good, you only focusing on the one that was bad. So you have to look in contents of everything. So just by having that one, it doesn't make it unusual. So
how does this lead to the correct diagnostic?
So that's where I was going next. So with this high level number of protein, they sent me over I said, okay, I need to do a reset. I need a reset. I'm in this one particular system, Ohio Health, and they're bouncing me from this doctor to this location to this location. Not everybody has access to my latest test results and everything. So I said to myself, okay, I need to be in a system that I'm comfortable with and that everybody has access to the same data. And I said the best place that I felt that I can do that was the Ohio State University Medical Center. So went down there and got a neurologist there and they started testing me. And once they realized that my protein was high, they sent me to a cancer doctor. And the cancer doctor looked at my test results and said, okay, we want to do a bone marrow biopsy. Just to see why, if your bone marrow was making this extended amount of protein. And it was really weird because on that day, we're down there and we're talking to this doctor, and we never realized that I had that the cancer was a possibility.
Okay.
Well,
I don't know that would have been in your head. You have leg pain.
Exactly.
Exactly. You were on medicine for nerves, for nerve pain. So I don't. But once you hear that word, man,
Well, it was kind of weird that you say that because my wife Laverne asked, "Does he have cancer?" And the doctor said, "You are at the James." And that's when it really clicked. Like, wow, all these doctors that we've seen, we're at a cancer facility being seen by a cancer doctor. So, long story short, so we go through the bone marrow biopsy. And they diagnosed me with smoldering multiple myeloma. Multiple myeloma is a cancer of the bone marrow, right? So your bone marrow is making normally makes your white and red blood cells that fights diseases, to fight diseases to make sure that your body is strong. And so my bone marrow was making a excessive amount of protein. And it's really weird because multiple myeloma can affect people in so many different ways. So normally lots of times when it gets an extra amount of protein, it affects your bones. And your bones end up becoming brittle. And sometimes will end up breaking. You can have a broken leg or a broken back, or it just breaks. And they wonder why, and they realize, oh, your bones are brittle from the lesions that this extra protein made within your bones. So fortunately, I was not at that stage, and my diagnosis was early. So they said, okay, you have multiple myeloma. It's very early, and we're so happy that we caught it. We can manage it. We can monitor it. I said, beautiful. And but the whole time I wasn't getting any better.
Yeah, but what you gonna do about this pain,
Yeah,
right?
the pain was still there.
Yeah,
The fatigue was still there. I was dropping weight like crazy. They said that they want to monitor, and I'm like, hey, something is wrong here. Something has to be done. So as I kept going through this diagnosis of, okay, we realized what the problem was. They claimed that they determined what the problem could be, but there has to be something else because what I'm feeling and what you're saying is not the same. And I had to be to the point where, again, I said, advocate to myself. I kept saying, hey, something's wrong. Something's wrong. I know what you said. I know we're going to monitor this, but if we got to monitor every 3 months, I don't think I'm going to make it another 3 more months. So what they ended up doing was they also had me going to palliative care.
I don't think I knew that guy.
Okay. So palliative care, which I didn't know what palliative care was. They call it pain management.
Yeah.
And the best way to kind of explain palliative care was palliative care is a amount of care that they do to make you comfortable. So it's kind of like hospice, but not quite like hospice. Some people have better ways to explain what it is. And this palliative care doctor was like, oh, we'll give you all the pain meds you need just so you're comfortable. You want a morphine pump, you want all, and being in Central Ohio, and you think about all these opioids, I was scared to death.
For sure.
I was scared.
If I could give a little bit of a explanation from what I understand about palliative care, just for those who may not know. Yes, you hear about palliative care through hospice, and people assume that if you're getting palliative care, it's because you're dying. And we're just trying to keep you comfortable until you die. What it really means is we're focusing on, yes, your comfort, your pain management, but they're not doing disease. They're not attacking the disease or attacking the symptoms.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And so oftentimes that happens toward the end of life, but that's not the only time. And even if it were a hospice situation, which I have a family member in hospice right now, there are times when you graduate out of that sometimes just the alleviation of the pain allows your body to calm down enough to kick in its own resources toward healing. But I imagine, first of all, just hearing that you have cancer, and then they're approaching you with palliative care, and nobody's really giving you answers. Well, you have this.
Exactly.
But we're going to monitor it. In the meantime, we'll give you all the drugs you need to feel better.
Yes. And
but
that's
in the meantime, what? Like, what are you waiting for? In the meantime, until it gets worse, until...
And you also say, is this my life now?
Yeah.
The unknown.
The unknown.
And so, but, as much as your mind is thinking about those things, you're also going through a lot of suffering. So you're focusing on the suffering, the pain. So you're not even thinking about the long play. You're thinking about what's going to get me through the night. I worry about tomorrow. I just need to get through the night. So what ended up happening was, since I was having excruciating leg pain and ankle pain and foot pain, and nobody really quite diagnosed why, my palliative care doctor said, okay, and this is exactly how she said. She said, your son is going to hate me for this. I was like, really? Wow. I want to put you on methadone. I said, methadone? And we all know methadone is a drug that they give people who's on serious, heroin addictions and all that. She said, yes, because methadone is a great medication for neurological pain. But again, with her knowing that my son is a doctor and we're monitoring me any opioids, that he may not be happy. Yeah. But the crazy thing about that, David, was at that moment in time, I was in so much pain. I said, I don't care what he thinks. Yep. Give me all the opioids, methadone, whatever, to help me get through the night.
So help me know how from pain management you end up, because I believe there's a connection between that and your diagnosis of amyloidosis. Right?
Okay, exactly. Yeah. So to be able to be put on methadone can cause problems with your heart. Right? There's a timing portion of your heart in the electrical system I think it's called the QTC. Right? QTC has to be monitored how your heart pumps, and they want to make sure that you have a healthy heart before they put you on methadone, because methadone can cause so many problems with the way your heart pumps. Mm-hmm. So they said, before we put you on this medication, we need to do a EKG. Do whatever you need. If you think that this medicine is going to help me, I'm for it. Mm-hmm. I'm in so much pain that I'm for it. And after like the third or fourth time they did the EKG, I was like, what's going on? Because, again, I believe that you have to advocate for yourself. If you're doing something 2 and 3 times and you're calling different people in here, I don't need to be a doctor to realize that something's not normal. Mm-hmm. So now I'm start asking the question, what's going on? What's going on? Oh, your QTC is a little elevated. It's elevated to the point that we cannot put you on methadone right now. So now I'm disappointed because you're telling me that something that's going to help, that can help me, is not available to me because of my heart. So I had to process this information to say, okay, number one, what other options do I have to get through this pain? Number two, why do I have a high QTC?
But even that, did you know what that was before this? So now this process, you have an education that you never asked for.
Never asked for.
You never asked for it, but you have it.
Yep.
And you've got reference points for questions that you continue to monitor your health. But as you're in this space, and I believe I'm only one of many, I think once your mission starts to elevate, many people are going to understand that, maybe sometimes your health journey, if you engage it, and there's a whole lot of reasons why people, particularly in, I think I would say historically in Black and brown communities and how we respect the medical profession, but also how we've had some historical trauma.
Yes.
With the medical
Not
profession.
Always a great situation.
Not always a great situation, but is life always? Right?
No, not at all.
And I would say what I know about you, even in the midst of this, as you've gotten a hold of your pain and you started to grasp your mission, I see the joy in you.
But it's funny that you should mention that, David, because what I'm trying to tell everybody is we all have a mission. Our mission is to make sure that we are enjoying every day that God gives us, that we are a better person today than we were yesterday. It's not how you start, it's how you end. So to more elaborate on what you just said, how 1 minute you never even heard of a QTC. And then all of a sudden a QTC is making a difference in your life, in your quality of life. Because you told me, this does great. And you built me up on thinking that I'm going to get this great medication. And then you tell me I can't get it. So if I don't do as much research or understanding why I couldn't get it, then I'm failing myself. So I have
to. You can't be a good partner in future decisions. And I think that's the thing, to understand that you are a partner.
Yes.
In the
yes. You're the 51%.
You are.
You're the 51%. You're the major stakeholder. Because before he saw you, he saw somebody else. And after he sees you, he'll see somebody else. But them appointments before and after yours has no relevance to you whatsoever. The appointment that means the most to you is your time. So you have to make sure that you use your time to the best of your ability, that you understand what's going on. I'm not saying that you have to be a doctor, but at least you know to have to say, okay, explain this to me. I don't understand. You're telling me something was good for me, but I can't have it. Why is that?
I think what I want to do, and I'll talk to my producer about this, is we can link some information about the specific cancers. Um, um, but in that space, and there was another conversation I wanted to have with you as well, but in that space of finding your mission through this, what would be your top few things that you want people to come away with?
The main thing that I want people to come away with, and we all have our own journeys. God gives us all our own journeys. My prayers at night are my prayers at night. No matter how close me and my family may be, we all don't have the same prayers. So the thing that I came away from this is, well, you got me emotional here, is that we don't know what we don't know, and that's okay. But we have to make sure that we make the best of every day that God gives us. And if life gives me something that's complicated that I don't quite understand, that it's okay. Do whatever I can to try to understand it. Advocate for yourself. Advocate for yourself. Advocate for your loved ones. Advocate for the people that you don't even know. And to be able to try to make a difference in somebody's life.
I think, having heard that word cancer a couple times in my life, being in that space is very isolating, right? You said nobody really knows how your body feels. Nobody really knows. And there's a loneliness in that.
Correct.
But the reality is, but for you to really know, you'd have to be in this space. And I don't want that for you.
Yes.
So one of the ways that I think you can combat that sense of isolation is to do what you're doing, to turn it into purpose, to empower other people, to embrace their challenges, to advocate for themselves. What does it mean? You can say, go advocate for yourself. Mm-hmm. Well, what does that mean?
It's just a big word. It's just a big word.
Yeah,
some people don't even understand. Yep.
It means know that you're the 51%.
You're the 51%.
You're the 51%.
I like that.
Understand that you have the balance, mm-hmm. and that you have every right to ask any question you need to ask. Yep. And your medical professionals, those that are in that field, and I think that would be the majority of people, for the betterment of health, will take the time to respond to a person who approaches their health journey with some authority. Exactly.
Now, to make a long story short, you asked a question about my journey.
Yeah.
And we kind of stopped off on that whole advocating part. So what ended up happening was when they did the QTC for my heart to get me on the methadone, they realized that my heart QT was kind of high. And they was like, you need to go to a cardiologist. As a cardiologist looks at my QTC, he looks at my high amount of protein, he looks at some of the other test results that kind of all goes together. He says, wow, this may be a possibility that he may have this disease called AL amyloidosis. AL amyloidosis is a light chain protein that is produced by your bone marrow that, again, if it's produced by your bone marrow, it's in your blood. And as your blood goes throughout your body, this protein can be stored at different organs: kidneys, liver, tongue, sinuses, nervous condition, lung, hearts, because your blood is the key to all organs. In my situation, since my QTC was so high, they gave him a sign that this mutant protein may be stored in my heart. So as it's stored in my heart, it could make my heart more stiff. So it would take good heart tissue, make it not productive heart tissue. So that's the reason why I was experiencing all of this fatigue.
Okay.
And this, because my heart kind of aged like 20 years in a month or in 6 months. And it's weird because the thing that scares the person the most about this disease is, as it stiffens your heart and affects your heart, it cannot unstiffen it. I mean, damaged tissue is damaged tissue. So damaged tissue in your heart causes heart failure. Heart failure is a general term that they use to determine that your heart is not performing properly. It's failing. Now, for whatever reason it's failing, it could be multiple different things. It could be hypertension. It could be high blood pressure. It could be diabetes. It could be sleep apnea. It could be so many different things that can cause your heart to fail.
A lot of those things you just listed are very common in our community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I thank God all the time, because I think if my situation was a little different, that I may have been chalked up as the normal heart failure and never went through
Oh, that's a good point.
the things that I went
Yeah.
through, because
Yeah.
I wasn't obese.
Yeah.
I didn't have diabetes. I didn't have high blood pressure. I didn't have I don't have high cholesterol.
None of those
And
typical
then the
markers,
typical
that
markers.
they would have just with the
'Cause that's
decision
how-
tree. Oh, black male, certain age, heart failure here.
Yep. Like we said, because of
Rather
the
than-
practice.
Yeah.
The
yeah.
practice shows
Okay.
that when you have
Yeah.
these 3 or 4 signs,
This is a typical
This
or
is typ-
reasonable
Yep.
outcome.
so why should we go into his bone marrow or go into his heart, get a sample of tissue, send it off to Johns Hopkins in Maryland, have them do this special test to come back and say, oh, his heart's failing because he's overweight. That's not how the practice
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that's another reason why I thank God that, I was diagnosed early, because they didn't just chalk it up as the typical
Yeah.
85-90% reason why your heart is failing.
Yeah. Wow. That's an angle I don't know that I grasped in our conversations earlier
Mhm.
about this. Yeah.
So that's another reason
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
I always have to say that we have to advocate for ourselves. No one knows our bodies better than we do.
That's true.
We wake up every morning. We know when we wake up feeling well. We know when we wake up when we're not feeling well. And if you don't understand if you're not able to read the signs that your body is telling us, then it's not good. So know what your normal weight should be. Know what your blood pressure normally be, because a lot of times when we get our blood pressure checked, it's not trended.
Right. It's a point in
Moment in
reading
time.
at a point in time.
Moment in time. So if you know what your blood pressure normally is, and then you go to the African American Wellness Walk and they check your blood pressure there, you say, man, that's 10 points higher than it was before. So that's why we have to know what our normal weight is. We have to know what our blood pressure normally is. So as those numbers are every time that we do get that number, those tests done, whether it's at the doctor's office or anywhere else, at least try to memorize what it is, or put it in your phone, or do something with it so you can track it, because
Yeah.
lots of times the person who's taking it doesn't know your history. To say, wait a minute, I might need to go to the doctor, or it's so high that it's not by them. So again,
Which is
advocating for
why
yourself.
family history is so important.
Exactly.
A lot of our families are disjointed, and so
Yep.
we don't have the full history, our family medical history.
Yep. Or access to the full
or
history.
Access to
Yes.
the full history. Good point. Yeah. But another thing to keep in mind as we're talking about legacy,
Mhm.
talk about what do we leave
Yeah.
behind.
Yeah.
I think also information.
Information
what
is
we
key.
leave- Is what we leave behind.
It's not
We
always
also
the
talk about legacy
information.
as whatever kind of wealth you can turn
Yeah.
down or what. I think legacy of your health, legacy of character. One of the things I admire about you is you are so curious by
Yes.
nature. You're a really curious person. That's probably why you're exceptional in your field. Right? Cybersecurity, you're looking for the minutia,
Yep. Yep.
right? And I find you that way in regular conversation, and that character quality, I'm sure, has been beneficial as you walk this journey
Yes.
as well.
And you never know how everyone's blessed one way or another. And you never know how you're blessed, and you never know how it affects you your day in and day out. I'm not saying that everyone has to be an extrovert and going to the doctor's office, speaking to everybody and just being just outgoing, because 9 times out of 10 you're going and you're not feeling your best. But at least take the time out to try to understand your situation. Because so many times we know when our car is running bad, we know what time our kids have to go to practice, we kind of conversation we talked about. We have a support system that can help us with all of that. But lots of times we don't have a support system to help us with our health. And our health takes second.
It takes second. Our physical health, our mental health, our relational health. That's where you touch into my space. But that's the essence of who we are. And that's what we need to protect.
Exactly.
Ask your question about the Fisher Family Foundation.
Okay.
Tell me what you hope to do with your foundation.
So the Fisher Family Foundation is a foundation. It's a base. And it kind of goes back to what you talked about, that legacy. You know, and I didn't want to pigeonhole the foundation and we call it the Guy Fisher Cancer, Multiple Myeloma, Cardiac AL Amyloidosis, Foundation. I wanted this foundation to be something that can help in healthcare, the community, you know.
It could be living in its
Living,
purpose.
yes, living its purpose. They can pivot. As my family, as the next generation wants to go into different things, this foundation can be that legacy that we talked about. It's something that can help communities year after year, generation after generation.
You know, when
So
I think
right
about
now-
your family,
okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. When I think about your family, and as I know you, your bents, like Laverne is service. She serves through a number of organizations, but I've also seen her serve the extended family.
Correct.
With great commitment. You've got this new mission that you didn't ask for, but that you're taking and using to advocate for health. One of your sons is a doctor. That would be maybe a natural space for him. Alex, on the other hand, maybe his mission will be in financial literacy.
Correct.
Right? They're just, so I appreciate that your foundation is the Fisher Family Foundation, and you're going to allow for it to be living and breathing
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
supporting those places where the individual family members have passion.
Like my daughter-in-law this last summer, she was the head coach of an AAU track club for kids from 7 to 16. And again, a foundation could support the
that.
track. You know, so I just wanted to make it broad enough that it can pivot. It can support multiple different things. Like you said, it's a legacy. It's a legacy. You know, again, it's not how you start, it's how you end. You know, so I wanted something to be that broad and not wide. So yes, if my son decides to open up a healthcare center for the community, the Fisher Family Foundation. So that's the beautiful thing about it. Now, to get back to my situation, once they realized that my heart was failing, they had to determine why. But through a few different biopsies and a lot of MRIs, they realized that my heart was failing because of this disease, AL amyloidosis. So as the bone marrow was making this questionable protein, this protein was being stored in my heart, which was causing my heart to fail. So now I'm like, oh, wow, okay, I'm in this heart failure. What do we do? Now we figured out what the problem is. Now we figure out why I'm so fatigued, why I have all this pain, because those protein was going to my central nervous system. And, you know, granted, it's not affecting my lungs, it's not affecting my kidneys, because my creatine or whatever, kidney function is great, you know. So I'm monitoring my kidneys, I'm monitoring my water intake. I look at my feet and I realize that my feet look swollen, then my hands and my face, because I know what my feet look like every day. So I monitor for if I'm retaining water, stuff like that. Again, I have to know myself.
Good information.
Yeah. So I said to myself, okay, Guy, you have you have this weird disease. This disease is attacking my heart. The James is doing a good job, but what is the best heart hospital in the country? Some would say it's the Cleveland Clinic. The Cleveland Clinic is 2 hours from us. So if I have a bad heart and Cleveland Clinic is 2 hours away, I need to be seen by the Cleveland Clinic. And this is where it gets weird, David. So I knew that was right. I knew that's something that I needed to do. But as a person, I was raised to be nice. You know, don't rock the boat.
Don't rock the boat. So what about that was rocking the boat? Was there a sense that you were telling your current doctors that you're not doing enough, I need to go elsewhere?
I was worried.
Yeah.
That was one of my concerns. Is I don't want them to think that as much as they did, that I don't believe them and I don't trust them and I need a second opinion. You know, and what type of care would they give me if I questioned their caregiving or their knowledge? So I was on the fence that, do I get a second opinion or not? Or do I get it and I don't tell anybody? Because I don't, we don't want to rock the boat.
We don't. But, second opinion, I believe, and maybe you will at this point as well, is it should be standard of care. We ask a second opinion on our outfit, on our shoes, on our
Does this taste good?
Yeah, we ask a second opinion
all the time.
And so, another thing you can normalize in your message is those who are professionals who keep their mission forefront. Like, I know that there are clients I see in the mental health space where I'm not an expertise in this thing.
Yep.
Have expertise in this. So I'm going to refer you to the people who are
we'll
the
take
experts.
referrals. We'll take referrals all day long.
Right?
Because we didn't make the decision.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
But when it comes to us making the decision, sometimes we get scared to rock the boat because we're in a space that we know nothing about. Yeah. Because sometimes we think that we were brought up to think that we don't question what the doctor says, that the doctor has all the answers, that this is not a practice.
Yeah, very good.
It's kind of amazing how all of this comes together when you sit down and you think about it.
I don't want to overwhelm the audience with the particulars because it's your life and those particulars matter to you. And not that they're not relevant to the flow of your story. And I really want to link some information to the particulars because I think, as you've said, both multiple myeloma and the symptoms that are common with amyloidosis, it's hard to say, isn't it? Yes, amyloidosis and other types of heart failure could easily get missed in our community. Yes. And so I think that's important. So I want to make sure, I know we keep getting back to the details, and I think they're important, but I don't want people to get lost in the details and be focused on the big things, the big rocks, which are the pillars of your message.
Yes.
Advocate for yourself, and advocate sounds like a big word, but it really is just ask questions.
Ask questions.
Know that you're the stakeholder, primary stakeholder.
51%.
It's your life.
It's your life. It's your life. And it's so funny that you say that because we look at doctors as having all the answers and knowing what to do and what they can give us.
Well, they take continuing ed. That's why.
and so one day I said to my doctor is, as much knowledge as you have, you're not walking in my shoes. And thank God you're not walking in my shoes. I don't want no one to walk in my shoes. But what you do, you make the walk a little bit more easier. You make my shoes feel a little bit more comfortable.
It's really something when you have, and they are experts. They go a lot of years to be able to be in that position. So they've earned the space to be in that position to help you walk. I forgot my point. But
it's like having a crutch that's raised up too high. Yeah. That's not going to help you walk. He's going to come and he's going to adjust the crutches so they fit your hands and your underarms perfectly, so you can hobble on down the street a little bit more easier. That's what and you have to get yourself in that mind frame, because like you said earlier, amyloidosis was a word that I couldn't even pronounce. Yeah. The day before, I didn't even know I didn't even know it was a word. Yeah. Well, so you go from something that you don't even know exists, that you're dying from
now
this.
It's central.
Now it's central. Yeah. So how do you process that? Yeah. And the thing that you always hear people say, mind, body, and soul, mind, body, and soul, Oh, I'm going to make sure I get my mind right. Oh, my mind is right. Oh my gosh. And remember what you were saying about us being 51% stakeholder in our health? Our mind is 51% stakeholder in our health. Because everyone knows that our body,
I would say at least.
Yeah, at least, if not more. It's even more, because all of our bodies are going to fail. Yep. All of them are going to fail. But when they do, what state will our mind be at? We all would like to be 85 in the room with our kids and our grandkids, and everyone's running around and loving on me and all of that. And And then I go to sleep and I fall, I pass in our sleep. That's one of the things that made the pandemic so bad, that these people were dying alone. They didn't have their loved ones to be able to hold their hand and say goodbye and make things right. You know what I mean? To like I said, ain't how you start, it's how you end. So with that being said, I had to make sure that I had my mind got right. And the thing is, when you're in the middle, you're fighting this disease, you're going to chemo, you're seeing yourself at your lowest, and you're seeing yourself, each week you're getting a little better and you're feeling a little better and everything. And everyone's focused on your health. It's hard to get everyone to focus on your mind.
Yeah, I don't know that everyone should focus on your mind.
They won't. Right? They don't know what you're thinking. They don't know.
And I think a big part of the journey, often being that my field, is sometimes we don't know what we're thinking or how to process what we're thinking. And so I feel we've got a couple of strains in this conversation. And since we're there, I want to go ahead and move us into that space.
Okay.
We talk about our family and our legacy and our experience, your personal experience through this. Everyone's individual experience through whatever their challenges in life, and those that are closest to you also have an experience.
Correct.
Of your journey and of their own journey. And we've talked off camera about, in our various health situations, how our spouses weren't necessarily seen as people having their own struggles in tandem with our stories, but as conduits to us. How's Guy doing? How is Davia doing? You rarely get Eric rarely got, how are you doing? Or I don't know if Laverne got, how are you doing?
Or when they're asked, or when they ask, they wonder, is this person even really listening to what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So why am I even going to go through it? Because they're just asking because they feel that's what they should ask.
Yeah.
But once they ask the question and you tell them that if they tell them they're not doing well, what good is it? There's nothing they can do.
I think it matters to be able to be
authentic. It does matter, but a lot of people who ask the question is not really listening to the answer.
Yeah.
So they get to the point where they're, I'm so tired of them asking me the same question. Because I'm going through it. I'm going through some difficult times. And I know Laverne is going through different times. Will be, and will continue on, because I'm kind of, my personality. When I find out something, I'm focused on that 110%. And I think that she should be focused on the 110%. And I had to tell myself that, again, her prayers are not my prayers. She doesn't know what I'm thinking, and she sure enough don't know how I feel. She's not feeling what I'm feeling.
She's not feeling what you're feeling.
So I had to say to myself.
But she is feeling what she's feeling.
Yes.
In relation to your story.
Yes.
And it's significant.
Yes. But I had to tell her and my sons that I don't know what it's like to have a husband, a father, a friend that has my type of personality dealing with this deadly disease. Because at one time they gave me six months to live. So, it's hard. It's hard to be in my shoes. I can't even imagine what it's like to be in your shoes. And I'm sorry that I don't take the time out to understand or try to understand what it's like to be in your shoes. Now, the weird thing about it, or the great thing about relationships, is when it's a good, pure relationship, they see us when we're at our best, and hopefully they support us when we're at our worst, So in my worst, I took it out on the person who loves me the most. I'm not going to take...
I think we do that because we also know deep down inside, we subconsciously, that they're the ones that aren't going to run.
Yeah.
Where you're able to be vulnerable when you don't have context for your own emotions. I get that.
Yeah.
And you learn when you learn.
Yeah.
Like you learn when you learn. When you're in the midst of the crisis, you get all this new information. And if your personality is whatever, you learn when you learn.
You learn when you learn. It's not how you start.
And there comes to be a time, though, that when you do have some greater understanding and you don't change your approach, then what does that do? Right? Then it becomes an excuse and not a reason.
Yep.
Right? But and I don't know about you, but we got help through those spaces. I think about one of my cancers. My second cancer was breast cancer. And I know that my husband sought out other men to talk to about how do you deal with this?
And that was hard for him.
That was hard.
That
Of
was
course,
hard
it was
for him.
hard. And then he got no real help.
Yep.
It was like, well, you just love your wife anyway. And
Yep.
it's like, that's not the question. I'm not asking. I'm going to love my wife. I'm
Yes,
not
yes,
going anywhere.
yes.
But it's, where did he have a place to process his grief that my body was changing?
And
I'm usually the person he comes to.
that person's
talk to me
wife.
about
That
that.
person's wife is a different person than his wife.
True. That's true.
That's
That's true.
even though you may ask this
Yeah,
question
yeah,
10 times
yeah.
and get 8 answers,
That's good. That's
you have to
good.
take those 8 answers and
Yeah.
say, how does this apply
does this
to
apply
our
to me?
dynamics?
Yeah.
Our dynamics is a little different,
Yeah.
you know?
I
You
think-
say, oh, you was always handpicked. You always was this, and that.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you're saying is good to know, but our relationship is not like y'all's relationship.
I
So-
think he just needed a space
Yes.
to be validated in that he got to have a struggle
Yep.
related to my disease.
And that's the key.
that's the thing.
That is the key.
Validation.
So what ended up happening with my situation was, as I was diagnosed with this terrible disease, they automatically threw me into chemo because they said, we have to get his bone marrow to stop making this mutant protein. Chemo start tomorrow. If it works, it will stop making this mutant protein. This mutant protein will stop causing this heart to fail. And the damage that was there is there, and we stopped it, Kind of like a fire going on, and they kept it to the basement. You don't put the fire out in the basement, it could burn your whole house down. So the main focus was, okay, we did the fire, did the damage, let's put it out. Okay, so once they realized that the fire was put out and everything, and they said, okay, now we have to make sure that there's no more smoldering embers that can fire back up. So once we realized that was cool, everybody is like, whew, that was close. The damage was there, but we stopped the damage and
We're going to hold steady.
we're going to hold steady. Everybody's back to their normal life. But at that same time, what am I thinking? Oh my gosh, it's all the embers out.
Of course.
Getting this flame back up. So as much as it may be because I went through some depression of my life changing with this terrible disease, now I'm dealing with what? Anxiety. Thinking that, oh my gosh, this may come back. Or, oh my gosh, if my body can get sick and they give me amoxicillin and they gave us amoxicillin for everything, then all of a sudden they realize amoxicillin is not as strong as it was, or our bodies came. Kind of like the COVID shot. We get the COVID shot every year now because of what? It changes. It's going to change. The virus is going to change. So now I got that carry that anxiety also is, okay, when would this chemo stop working?
I think there's 2 strains that would be good to leave with people. Is that, first of all, your mental health is related to
Almost
your physical
definitely.
health.
Mind, body, and
I
soul.
think another thing to expect for many, and I just speak this as a professional, but also experientially, is that when you're using all your energy to fight the thing, it's often once you get your hands around that, after that calms down, that the depression hits.
Yep.
And the anxiety,
Yep.
like you said, comes after that, the fear of the future. And your work is to integrate that in a way that doesn't keep you stuck.
Oh,
And
exactly.
so
Exactly.
Because it's reasonable. Here's what the benefit is, though. You have had to face your mortality in a way that a lot of people have not had to do. In reality, any of us could be gone tomorrow. Tomorrow. Whether it's a long life or a short life.
Yep.
I just, with 2 of my friends, have just lost, actually 2 friends and a niece, have just lost sons very young in life.
So that's terrible.
Right?
Terrible.
Tragic.
Terrible.
Right? We
Terrible.
don't know. But that's the reality
Yep.
for all of us.
Yep.
We don't know that we have tomorrow. But if you have faced your mortality and lived through it, there can be the anxiety of, oh no, I may not have tomorrow. But there can also be an appreciation of, you know what?
I got today.
Now I know.
And I got
I've
today.
got today.
I got
And I'm
today.
going to live the day that I have, whether or not I have tomorrow. It's the true story, whether you're healthy or not.
Exactly. Exactly.
But
Like I say.
if you faced it,
Yep.
you have the opportunity to turn it into your power.
Yep. Yep.
Which is what I want you to do. And I think I see you doing it. So when you tell your story, those are the things that I think people are going to receive from you. They're going to receive positive outlook, not to the exclusion of the reality of the hard stuff.
No.
The hard stuff, how it affects your
Yeah.
relationship,
Yep.
how your body feels,
Yep.
all those things. Let's be authentic about those
Yep.
things. We don't want to give anybody a false expectation. But we also want to say, so let's, with or without your diagnosis, let's get to living your life today.
Yes.
Let's get to living
Yes,
it
because you,
today.
you don't know.
You don't know.
You don't know. Like I
So
said, the
let's not
last
waste
thing.
it in
Yep.
fear.
Yep.
You do know.
Yep. So the things that I've learned on this is, number one, like I said, is to understand your health. Know where you're at. Know what your normal is. No one else is going to know your normal. Number two, if you're thrown that curve or told some questionable information, advocate for yourself. No one else is going to fight for you. No one is. One of the things that I also did was learn as much as you can about what you're dealing with. And I'm also participating in a clinical trial.
Okay.
So the clinical trial was a trial that they had to try to remove the mutant protein or reverse the damage that this protein caused to your organs. So like I said, the way that this protein kept being stored in my heart and causing the heart tissue to become damaged is to try to remove some of the damage that this heart tissue got. Now,
That's another thing that I don't know, that I don't have the statistics. I don't know if I learned this from you or not, but that generally speaking, Black and brown people don't participate in clinical trials. I don't know if it's because we don't know about them. Do you know why that's
that's a
do you have any understanding
great
as to why
question.
we don't?
A lot of people I talk to say, you're 100% right. We do not participate in a lot of clinical trials. And a lot of us there's a fear based on
Being
what you talked
experimented
about
on.
of the fear of it being experimented on. And we have every right, because not many races have the track history that we have, the history that we have of some of the stuff that was done to make sure. And a lot of times we're in a different stage where the clinical trial is not really for us. One of the things that I'm so blessed about, and I don't think about my blessings the way I should. So sometimes I have to think about how lucky that I am. Because as bad as all of this sound and all this terrible news, I have not stayed one night in the hospital.
Oh wow.
Not one night. I walk in, I walk out. So with that being said, at the James, most of the patients for a lot of their doctor visits and treatments on the 5th floor. And I get on this floor and I look around and there's not a lot of Black and brown people. And I say to myself, is that because we don't get this terrible disease of cancer? We all know we get cancer.
Yeah.
But we're not in the maintenance phase where we're walking in and walking out. A lot of those people who's walking in and walking out are being rolled in wheelchairs and rolled out. Some of them may not even show up the next week because they're no longer with us. But the fact that they're in that maintenance mode, no matter where they're at, to be able to walk in and walk out. I had a friend that didn't even know he had cancer until I got the call saying he's at the James on the 17th floor on life support. I didn't even know. I'm there every other week. I've never been to the 17th floor.
Did he not know? Did he discover it late stage?
Discovered it late stage. He was never in the maintenance. He went in and never came out. How many people do we all know that went in and never came out? So again, that advocating, that
knowing your numbers
knowing
early,
your
so you can see
numbers,
trending,
catching
and
it early,
changing.
something's changing. Get to the point where you're able to get into a maintenance phase. Some people's maintenance is not really going to help them, but at least they were at the point where they were walking in and walking out.
Well, we can't talk forever, so I'm going to end us. I think there's a lot of stakes that people can take away from your story. I think we talked quite a bit. We may even have 2 episodes. We'll see what we've got. But let's close this off for this time. And you're not leaving my life anytime soon. So
No,
if
not
we
at
have
all.
another conversation, I hope that we
Not at
can.
all.
All righty. So I want to tell you what we're toasting to. Now, given that we're 2 cancer survivors, you might want to say, are y'all drinking alcohol? I'm like, well, yes, we are. In moderation at times.
Yep.
We do know that there's no health benefit to drinking an alcoholic beverage. And so we manage that. But as two friends having a conversation, I decided to make us Black Manhattans today. And I made them with bourbon. The most recipes call for rye. Didn't really like the rye taste, so I made them with 2 ounces of bourbon, 1 ounce of Averno, a dash of orange bitters, a dash of Angostura bitters, and I actually added a little bit of. I make brown sugar simple syrup, a little bit of simple syrup, just to. It just felt like it needed a little bit
Soften it
of
up,
soften it a little bit. It's a pretty boozy drink. So cheers to you, my friend.
Love
to
you.
long life. To growing purpose, to growing awareness, and to mission.
Yeah.
All right.
And one thing that I will want to say that we didn't really talk about was making sure that we ask for help mentally.
Yep, absolutely.
Mental health. Because again, mind, body,
It's our
and soul.
essence. Yep.
Love you.
Blessings. Well, thank you for joining me for another episode of Tales from the Shaker, Davia Williams Stevenson podcast. I hope that you took this moment to be shaken, to find new purpose, to have some new awareness, or make some new steps in your life. All right? Be good. Talk to you soon.